Hi, welcome to the Life Likes and Landing Pages podcast, also known as the 3Ls podcast. I am your host, Gayle, or co-host Gayle, and this is my co-host, Kim.
Hi.
And today we're going to be talking about case studies. Kim is a bomb copywriter, and she's going to be taking us through the process of creating a great case study. But before we get into that, Kim, and I hope I'm not throwing you under the bus here, I want to challenge you potentially on why a case study is even important. Why do we even need them?
That's a start.
Oh, good.
The
But
first thing I wrote down is
when you had that reaction, I was like, oh shit, I've really done it to her now.
no. The
Yes, what a great
first thing I
starting
wrote
point.
down is what's the purpose?
Let's
Because
go.
why would you put a lot of effort into it when you don't know the purpose?
What is the purpose of a case study? Why do we need
All
them?
right. So remember how we talked about marketing plan, business plan, all that stuff? You are talking about basically your mission, your vision, but also usually you include your promise, your business promise. And so it's basically what you are saying to your customer: when you work with me, this is what you get, without going into the nitty gritty of like actual deliverables, right? And the purpose of your case study is that you provide evidence of your claims. Mm-hmm. And I think very important, like what's the difference between case studies and reviews or testimonials? Because I think that's where that blurs it sometimes, because we have these different phrases. Reviews are more a quote of something that happened. You see them on Google, you see them on like things like TripAdvisor. It's usually a small quote of, I had a great time, I had a terrible time, I had nothing else to say, so I'm having a stupid quote here. But it doesn't give you any context, right? So if you let's say someone give me a review on Google for my copywriting service, and they're saying, you've done an amazing job, so happy with you, right?
What does amazing look like?
Exactly. What does amazing look like? Was it even a copywriting job? How big was it? Like, what channel was it? Like, all that stuff. So even though we are very happy of having good reviews, because it will help with your SEO and stuff on Google, it doesn't necessarily tell your potential clients that you are the one they want to buy from. So I'm going to talk a little bit about structure in a little bit. The first thing I want to say is where you get your input is also very different than from reviews. So with reviews, what you can do is you send, like, after you've finished your project, or after you send them their product, you send them an email and say like, hey, click here and leave a review. It's a bit anonymous. And a lot of people don't really like what they think about it, right? So they don't know, unless it's really good experience or a really bad experience, people don't really know what to say. So that's why a lot of people don't leave a review. So with case studies, what I found very, very, very helpful is to interview your customers. And ideally, if you have the opportunity to let it be done by someone else than yourself, that would be a great way to go. So for example, in my last job, I didn't have any customer interactions. So I didn't talk to them on email, I didn't do any kind of service. So after they finished their project with sales, I would contact them for a case study. How did it go? And what I've learned is that because it's not the person they actually dealt with before, they can be a little bit more real and a little more honest, because they don't want to hurt someone. Most people don't want to hurt someone else. They don't want to offend someone else. So if you have the opportunity to have it done completely independent, like by an external copywriter or like research or anything, that is it gives customer a bit more of an
like a safe space.
Like a safe space, yeah, because they don't, again, most people don't want to offend anyone. If you're at the point where you do case study, likely a project has been finished, So they don't want to hurt that relationship, burn any bridges, anything like that. So if you do it from an independence point of view, you give them the opportunity to give you feedback. So that's a little bit about interviews, about case study. So it's not about the actual case study, but more how you get your information, how you get your input. So when we talk about the structure, again, a case study is a lot longer than a review, usually. I mean, there are some exceptions, but in general reviews are like a paragraph, and case studies are a lot longer. Usually what I like to do is I like to start with, what is the company? So who's your client? Who are they? Why are they buying from you? Why did they get contact with? No, sorry, not that yet. Who are they? What do they do? Completely out of what you've done. So just, who is the company? The reason why that's important is because it gives context to the project that you've done with them. It gives the urgency. It gives it gives a story around the project. Just for example, there was a company for one of my clients who I interviewed, and they were a very old school company. You know, they existed for 150 years, and they had to transition into the landscape and everything. And the reason why working with my clients became so urgent was COVID, because the stores were closed. So they had to buy, all of a sudden, in like matter of like months, they had to increase the amount of stuff they would sell on marketplaces. So that it made sense why the company needed my client. And what that does in the case study, it will create a point of identification. So if someone who's in that situation reads that case study, like, oh yeah, I get that. They went through the exact same issues as the company. So it works as like a recognizing things for yourself. Then you talk about the project. So you talk about like, what did you do for them? Did you create a website? Did you write copy for them? Did you guide them through it? You know, like, it's very different if you're doing the actual writing or if you like help someone write. So what was the project and how did you approach it? And then one of my favorite parts is, how did it go? And here is where there's the biggest difference between reviews, testimonials, and all the stuff out there that we think is positive. It doesn't all have to be positive. The best case studies are actually when you have challenges, something went wrong, but you stood up and you fixed it. And that's usually when actually the relationship with your client becomes stronger, because you have like this common enemy to like fight against, you know? So how did it go? And don't shy away from the challenges or what went wrong. Like, be honest, be honest, and also tell them what solution you use to overcome these challenges. And then the last bit is the results. And usually here is where I like to include something that you would normally include in a review. So I would like to include here a longer quote from the customer. Everything obviously is in their words as much as you can, but a longer quote there. Talk about what it did for the company. Like, did they get more sales? Did they get more website visitors? Did they get a clearer view of like the future? Not everything, especially in the service industry, not everything is as easy, like transactional, you know. There's not always a result within a couple of weeks. But if they have had clarity of mind, they had a focus within the team, like all that stuff is all our results. So if you can't give any like numbers, ideally you put some numbers in there, but if you can't, use like examples of how it helped their company. And as you can see, it's all very focused on from the company's perspective, how things went, except how it went is from your end. So the reason why you do that is because you don't want to be the person, you don't say like, oh, I'm promoting myself. You basically want to show this project promotes me. And it promotes me because I'm using their words to describe how everything went.
Is it appropriate to say then, like there's an upsurge at the moment of storytelling in marketing, and how you make the client the hero of your story, not you, or you make your audience the hero of the story, not you. Is it appropriate to say that you should take the same approach with your case studies, and it's like you're telling the story and your client is the hero?
It's actually your client is telling the story.
Well, yeah.
So I would say that if you like your client is telling the story of the project, I think would be the best way to describe it. So in Dutch we have a saying like, I don't think it works in English actually, sorry, but it's promoting yourself doesn't really work because you always promote yourself, right? If not, then being a business owner is probably not a good idea. So you always promote yourself, but the point with reviews and case studies is that someone else promotes you. And when it comes to case studies, you go into way more depth of how you work, so your way of working. So that's what I mean, like back to the purpose, like it provides evidence of the claims you make in your mission, in your vision, in your brand promise. So it is helpful, especially if you're not sure what to ask your customer, it is helpful to look at your brand promise. Let's say your brand promise is we deliver quick, right? And then you can ask the customer, like, how was the lead time? Like, how was that for you? And if they say like, well, wasn't great, like I had to work, she said it wasn't 24 hours, but it was like 14 weeks. I was like, it's a very
cut that bit out.
Cut that bit out. Yeah. No, but I mean, like you can say that, like, was there a reason for it? And that's why I mean, like, don't think it all has to be positive. However, obviously it needs to be a positive story. So it is the client telling you, you're allowed to edit it a little bit. What I like to do is send it to the client, have them read it, and then before I post it, because again, most people want to help each other. Like that's like, so they want to be able to like it on social media and to share it on social media, especially if they're business owners themselves. It is to provide evidence of your claims, and it is to show in their words what you promise is true.
I think you hit the nail on the head with something before where you said, like, don't shy away from sharing the challenges. And be honest about those challenges, because, and I say this as part of like my reputation management training, like, don't be scared of bad reviews, because it's an opportunity for you to show that you are human and you might make mistakes, or not everything's going to go to plan. It's how you overcome that. That is what's going to potentially get you over the line with some of your audience. Like, no one expects perfect. They just expect that whatever the challenges are will be fixed. And so many people, I think, I've worked in organizations and I've had many conversations with clients where people actually would never do this process, for example, because they're scared of the feedback. They're scared of asking the clients what they thought and how they found the process or the experience, because they don't want to be faced with the idea that everything wasn't perfect. But it's in that moment of imperfection that we grow. And
then we show what we made of, like it is in the face of challenges that we show our best work usually.
You know what? There are companies that will ride a wave of success for so long, and the first challenge that happens comes and knocks them on their ass, and they don't know what to do with it. And you can ride that wave to success for as long as you want. If you don't know how to deal with the challenges, you're not going to get past that sticking point. and you don't want to be working, well, personally, I wouldn't want to be working with, like, for example, in the context of business coaches, I wouldn't want to work with a business coach who hasn't had a little bit of failure.
Yeah, yeah.
If you had an easy journey and you're telling me you went from 0 to 60K in 60 days, I might not work with you because you don't know what it's like to overcome challenges. Then
Yeah.
you had I'm not saying that was easy, but you had a phenomenal rise to the top.
Yeah.
I want someone that's kind of experienced the lows as well.
Yeah, yeah. And
so yeah, don't be afraid to
I think
express
most
that.
people want that, because
Yeah.
they then you can relate to things, and you can, there's always things that happen in life, and it's not always in your control. You know, like if there was a mistake where you, like, I don't know, you pulled the plug on something and everything fell down, like, okay, maybe that's not the best challenge to share. But in general, most of the things that happen in our project are kind of out of our control. So you can say, like, she got sick, but she still delivered on time. She like, I was sick, so I couldn't deliver my input, but she was so understanding during that process. Like, it's where we can show that we're human and that we all have that shit to deal with. But still want to achieve our goals. And I think I think that's you're right. I think a lot of companies shy away from case studies because of that, because they feel they need to be perfect, especially in B2B. I feel like, where we feel like, someone is investing their hard-earned money to us or something. I don't really get it, because so how I look at things, if I go on holiday or to anything, reviews, I always look at the 1 and 2 stars, the lowest stars.
But do you look at the responses? Because I always look for the responses too.
No, so I look at the reviews itself, because a lot of times I'm like, okay, but why are you complaining about this? Like, I couldn't reach her, or they were talking to each other and didn't pay attention to me. I'm not saying that's good service or good business at all, but I'm just like, okay, but the product was still good, you know? So it's, again, I'm just thinking the negative part of things, if we can give a spin to it. And that's kind of like with the whole review management, like, if you give a good spin to it, it can work in your favor.
100%. That's really good.
Another reason why case studies it's very different, why case studies are helpful, is for SEO. So you could, if you're doing smart, you use the keywords that you want to use in your website, you use it in your case studies, and that will again increase how much you've used it in, like, a valuable context for SEO. So that's also a good reason to use it.
I just want to finish up with maybe can you give us potentially 3?
Okay.
I love throwing Kim under the bus. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
We do not we plan these, but we don't structure them or script them or anything. We literally do this on the fly. So these random thoughts come to me, and poor Kim cops it. But I'm just wondering if if you can give us 3 questions that you think are important to ask as part of getting that crucial information for case studies.
Well, first of all, I would say ask a lot of open questions. So questions that cannot be answered with yes or no. So it's usually questions like what, why, how, like that kind of stuff. So I would say, so let me just formulate them quickly in my head. So I think one of the questions that I want answered when I'm talking to a customer about case study is, what made you choose us? That's also, from a marketing perspective, very important. So what made you choose us? How did you experience working with us? And again, so the thing with how and what, it's kind of interesting. So how and why. People can get a little defensive when you ask them why questions. So try to formulate them in a how question. So instead of saying like, why did you do that? You can say, how did you get to that point? How did you get to that choice? So yeah, how did you experience it? And then I think one of the questions is how, like, have you, this is not an open question, but have you were there any challenges along the way? The reason why I pointed out why I actually say were there any challenges is because, again, people don't want to throw people under the bus, so they will probably not bring it up. So really
kind of giving them permission.
Yeah, make sure that they feel like they can say what the challenges were. Yeah,
that's really good. That's really helpful. I think that's a really good place to finish up as well. That was really useful. Thank you. Hopefully that has, excuse me, I'm just about to clear my throat. Hopefully that has simplified the process of creating case studies in the businesses for the people who are listening. But obviously, as always, we always say this, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and ask. That's what we're here for. And yeah, thank you for listening. As always, you know, remember, share, like, tell your friends. Let us know how you found this. Was this helpful? Because we sit here and we kind of go, yeah, that was really useful, but was it? You know, are we on the right track, or are we just assuming? Give us feedback, you know, and we've just talked about getting feedback. We love it. So yeah,
we just want good reviews though.
Yeah. Yeah, if it's bad, just email us, okay?
Yeah.
But no, you know, we really want to hear from you guys how you find these episodes and whether or not they are helpful. And if there's any topics that you would like us to cover, by all means, get in touch about that too. And we'll finish up there. Thanks, Kim. And we'll see you guys next time. See you later. Bye.